Leo, let's get real for a second. You didn't find this video. This video found you. That might sound dramatic, but when destiny has marked you, it doesn't whisper. It knocks. Loudly. And the moment you clicked on this, whether you meant to or not, something sacred began to unfold. The truth is, you've been feeling it for a while now. That strange sense of closure you can't explain. The memories rising out of nowhere. The pull in your chest when you hear that one name, that one song, that old feeling you thought you buried. You haven't lost your mind, Leo. You're being guided. And whether you realize it or not, you're standing at the edge of a chapter that will rewrite everything you thought you knew about endings, about love, and about yourself. Let's not sugarcoat it. There is a death coming. But not the kind you run from. The kind your soul has been praying for. Because the version of you who's been pretending to be okay for far too long, that version is tired. And it's time to let them rest. This is the death of your old armor. The part of you that said, "I'm fine," when you weren't. The part that stopped believing in second chances. The part that convinced you that loving again would only hurt. Let that version go, Leo. Let it die so something greater can rise. Because, and this is where it gets real, the person your heart never truly stopped loving is coming back. And no, not as a repeat of the past. That story is done. This is a return with purpose. A reconnection that serves the version of you that's no longer hiding behind pride, fear, or past mistakes. The person coming back isn't the same. And neither are you. They've walked through their own fire, just like you have. They've been reshaped by regret, awakened by silence, humbled by loss. And they're being led back to you not by coincidence, but by soul contract. This is about something deeper than romance. It's about completion. So why now? Because a portal is opening specifically for Leo. In the next few days, you may notice repeating numbers, dreams that feel too vivid to ignore, a song you haven't heard in years playing just when your thoughts drift to them. These aren't glitches. They're invitations. But here's the part most people won't tell you: not everyone will want to see you get this second chance. There will be energy trying to pull you back into the old you, the guarded one, the disconnected one. You must choose not to answer that version anymore. Instead, claim the one that's ready to rise. So, Leo, I want to ask you something. If any part of what you just heard stirred something inside you, if you feel your heart leaning in, leave a comment below and say, "I accept my destiny. I'm ready to return to myself." Let the universe hear you. Let your soul know you're listening. And before we go any deeper, I want to thank you not just for being here, but for showing up for yourself. Your likes, your comments, your presence help this channel grow. But more than that, they help grow this collective of conscious souls who are remembering who they really are. So stay with me until the end. Because what's coming next will not only touch your past, it will awaken your future. Let's begin. You felt it, haven't you, Leo? That quiet pressure building inside, like something old is pressing against your skin, asking to be let go. It's not always loud. Sometimes, it shows up as restlessness, a sigh you didn't mean to let out, a sudden wave of nostalgia or frustration with the version of yourself you've been carrying. And here's the truth: what you're feeling is real. It's a signal. A spiritual nudge. Not from outside, but from within. This is not the end of your story. It's the moment before the page turns. In astrology, we often look to planetary alignments to understand the timing of inner transformations. Right now, Mars, the planet of action and primal energy, is aligning with Pluto, the planet of death, rebirth, and deep emotional purging. When these two forces combine, especially in a fire sign like Leo, they don't just ask you to change. They require it. They demand that you drop the mask, burn the script, and let the truth rise. This is what we call a symbolic death. And the card that reflects this moment perfectly is the Death card in the tarot. Misunderstood by many, feared by most, but in reality, it's a gift. Because death in the tarot doesn't mean an ending in the tragic sense. It means liberation. It means the release of identities and beliefs that have expired. It's the divine permission to stop pretending. And I know, Leo, you're tired of pretending. You've been holding space for everyone else. You've been strong for the people around you. Maybe you've been performing a version of yourself that kept the peace, kept the pride intact, kept the fears at bay. But inside, you've been grieving. Not always for a person, but for a version of yourself that didn't get to speak, didn't get to cry, didn't get to fall apart. And so, this moment is not here to punish you. It's here to invite you into a deeper kind of freedom. The kind that asks nothing of you but honesty. The kind that strips everything away so that what's left, your real essence, can breathe again. This is not destruction for the sake of chaos. It's pruning. So you can bloom. If we borrow the imagery from nature, think of the phoenix. A creature that must completely surrender to its own fire in order to be reborn in a new form. That's where you are. You are the flame and the ashes. The grief and the glory. The breakdown and the breakthrough. And no matter how long you've been trying to hold yourself together, now is the time to let yourself fall apart in the most sacred way. You don't have to do this alone. This is where inner work meets outer support. Maybe for you, this looks like journaling the feelings you've kept locked away. Maybe it's finally saying the thing you've been holding in your throat chakra. That lump in your neck when emotions rise? That's the energy wanting to move. Let it. Support your nervous system. Nourish your body with foods that ground you: root vegetables, whole grains, warm herbal teas. Get outside and let the morning sun touch your face. Breathe deeply, intentionally. And try the lion's breath Simasana. Let it open you. Let it move something. This is also a time to observe the roles you've been playing. Have you become so used to being the strong one that you forgot you're allowed to be held too? That's part of the symbolic death. Let go of the identity that says you must always have it together. What if your strength now comes from softness? From surrender? This is the work. And it's holy work. The kind that prepares the ground for what's next. A return to the love you deserve. A reconnection with your own power. A rewriting of the story you've told yourself. If something inside you knows this is your moment to release and rise, take a breath. Then type this in the comments: I accept my symbolic death so I can rise stronger. Let the universe witness your readiness. Let your soul hear your own voice. Let's not run from the fire this time, Leo. Let's walk through it together. It's hard to explain that kind of silence, isn't it? The kind you feel when someone you once loved deeply has been gone for so long that you've almost convinced yourself it doesn't matter anymore. You go about your life. You smile. You rebuild. But underneath it all, there's this quiet space that never really closed. Not out of weakness, not out of fantasy, but because something about that connection wasn't finished. And deep down, you knew it. Leo, this next part of your journey is not about going backward. It's about completion. It's about facing a story that was never truly resolved, not to reopen a wound, but to seal it with understanding, maturity, and truth. In tarot, when the lovers and judgment appear together, it's not just about romance. It's about soul contracts, agreements made long before this lifetime, where two people chose to meet, separate, learn, and then return, not to repeat the past, but to fulfill what was once left undone. It's a reunion born not out of longing, but out of evolution. And that's the invitation you're stepping into now. Astrologically, Venus moving through your 5th house of love and self-expression is no coincidence. This transit often reactivates the kind of relationships that leave a permanent imprint on your energy field. Think of it like a magnetic pull between two people who have changed yet remain undeniably connected at a deeper level. If you've been seeing numbers like 222 or 444, those are universal nudges. Subtle whispers. Signs that the timing is aligning for something to return, not for closure, but for awakening. Let's be honest, people leave for all kinds of reasons. Sometimes it's immaturity. Sometimes fear. Sometimes they just weren't ready to receive the love you offered. And maybe you weren't ready to offer it in the way they needed either. But life has a way of teaching us through pain what we couldn't learn through peace. And when both souls have finally sat with their lessons, cried the tears, walked through the fire, they often circle back, not because they're trying to fix what was, but because they're now capable of building something real. That person, the one you couldn't forget even when you tried, they've been learning too. And the universe isn't bringing them back to give you a Hollywood ending. It's giving you both a new beginning, one rooted in truth. The question is, can you meet them from who you are now? Not with the walls up. Not with the old stories playing in your head. But with presence, clarity, and compassion. So here's what I'll say from experience: Sedent, focus on their return. Focus on your readiness. You don't need to check their messages or reread the past. What you do need is to check your own energy. Are you open, or are you guarded? Are you willing to love from your healed self, not your hurt self? If the answer is yes, prepare your heart accordingly. Dress your soul in gold, literally and energetically. Gold tones activate your solar plexus chakra, your center of self-worth and personal power. This is not the time to shrink. It's the time to shine so brightly that what is meant for you sees you clearly. Leo, if something in your chest is stirring right now, if the thought of them still touches a part of you that never really went numb, then say it out loud or write it below. They're coming back and I'm ready. This isn't about fantasy. It's about alignment. And when two hearts have grown in the dark, they are sometimes destined to bloom in the same light together. There are moments in life that don't feel like regular days. They feel like open windows. Like something invisible is standing just beside you, gently nudging you to look up, pause, and listen. If you're paying attention right now, Leo, this is one of those moments. And it's not a coincidence. It's timing. It's alignment. It's your portal. Astrologically speaking, the current energy around you is no ordinary transit. When Jupiter, the planet of expansion, abundance, and divine timing, crosses paths with Uranus, the planet of breakthroughs and sudden liberation, especially in your 10th house of purpose and public life, it's like the sky pulls back the curtain for a few days and says, "Here. Take the leap. This one's for you." These windows don't stay open forever. But when they do, and when you step through them with clarity, everything begins to move faster than you imagined. What makes this energy different is that it doesn't just affect one area of your life. It touches everything. Love, money, career, vision. It's the kind of shift that requires presence, because if you're too caught up in distractions, old patterns, temporary people, looping doubts, you'll miss what's trying to land. That's why awareness is your greatest asset during these 3 days. Not perfection. Not performance. Just presence. Now, let me break this down in a more grounded way. When we talk about portals or cosmic openings, what we're really describing is an energetic pressure point where your inner readiness meets outer opportunity. Think of it like the tide pulling back before a wave crashes forward. You might feel uneasy, emotional, even overwhelmed, but it's not chaos. It's your system recalibrating to handle a higher frequency. That tension you feel isn't a red flag. It's activation. And here's where the law of attraction truly comes into play, not as a wish-making machine, but as a reflection tool. The emotions you hold right now, the thoughts you quietly repeat to yourself, the images you allow to play in your mind, they are all becoming magnets. So ask yourself, honestly, what are you attracting? Are you picturing loss or reunion? Are you speaking fear or faith? You don't have to fake positivity. But you do have to be intentional. A practical way to align with this energy is to physically create space. Light some sandalwood or frankincense. Place rose quartz near your bed or your heart. Write out a journal entry titled, "If they came back tomorrow, how would I show up for that version of love?" Let your words tell you where you still hold back, where you still prepare for disappointment instead of preparing to receive. That self-awareness is everything. You may also notice certain people showing up right now who seem almost right. They might say the right things, offer a temporary comfort, or mirror parts of your old story. Be cautious. These people aren't the destination theory tests. The universe doesn't send replacements when the real thing is about to arrive. It sends distractions to ask, are you truly ready for the love, purpose, and abundance you've been calling in? Or will you settle for something that feels safer because it's familiar? Remember, this portal doesn't care about how long you've waited. It responds to how ready you are. So declare your readiness. Not just with your thoughts, but with your energy, your space, your body language, and yes, your actions. If what you're feeling right now resonates in your chest, if there's even the smallest whisper in your heart saying, "This is my time," then let the universe hear you. Write it down below, boldly and clearly. I open the portal to receive love and abundance. That's not just a comment. It's your energetic signature. Your contract. Your yes to what's meant for you. Don't whisper it. Claim it. Because when your energy aligns with your intention, the rest will follow, and fast. Sometimes, right before the blessing lands, the noise gets the loudest. You've likely noticed ethos doubts creeping back in, that old voice whispering, what if this is just another letdown? Or worse, what if I don't deserve this? And if you've been here before, Leo, you know this isn't new. It's what I like to call the last test before the breakthrough. And when the Seven of Swords shows up in a reading, it's rarely about deception from the outside. More often, it's about the subtle betrayals that happen within when fear dresses up as logic, and we talk ourselves out of something beautiful before it even begins. At this stage of your journey, after all the growth, healing, and inner clarity you've worked so hard to build, you're not just being offered a second chance at love or purpose, you're being asked to hold it, protect it, and claim it as something you truly believe you deserve. But here's the part most people don't prepare for: with every blessing comes resistance. Not just from the world around you, but from within. That's where the real sabotage often starts. Let's break this down with honesty and compassion. There are three main forces that tend to rise when your energy starts aligning with something powerful. First, the external noise, people who don't understand your journey. They may be friends or family, well-meaning but operating from their own fear. They'll say things like, "Are you sure this is real?" or "Don't get your hopes up." Not to hurt you, but because they haven't been where you're going. Then there's the jealousy, the ones who sense your glow returning and feel threatened by it, even if they don't admit it. The truth is, your light will always disturb those who are still hiding in their shadows. And then, the most dangerous saboteur of all, your own inner voice. The part of you that still carries past rejection, betrayal, or abandonment. That voice is clever. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It reminds you of every time you loved and lost. It questions your timing, your worth, your readiness. And the worst part? Sometimes, it sounds just like you. But here's the thing, you've outgrown that version of yourself. You don't owe that old fear the final word. What you owe is your presence to the version of you that's ready now. That's learned. That's still open. That still believes. This is why energetic hygiene is crucial right now. Not in a performative way, but in a grounded, practical, deeply sacred sense. Clean your space physically and spiritually. Pay attention to the southwest corner of your home, which energetically connects to relationships and love. Clear out what no longer holds beauty or intention. Use sea salt in your bath or a rinse of rose water over your skin, whatever helps you feel reset and held. And most importantly, speak life into yourself. Literally. Stand in front of the mirror and say, out loud, "I am worthy of sacred love. I am worthy of divine timing." And say it until your voice stops shaking. Say it until your nervous system starts to believe it. I'll say this: shouldn't be surprised if people from your past pop up, especially those whose energy once drained you. Not every reconnection is meant to be revisited. Some are simply echoes, sent to test if you're still willing to give pieces of yourself away to what doesn't nourish you. Be kind, but be clear. Protect your field like you would protect a sacred garden. You've worked too hard to let weeds take root again. So if you're feeling that shift, that push and pull between fear and desire, don't ignore it. That's the moment when you need to ground yourself in truth. And if you're ready to protect what you're calling in, if you're ready to stand your ground, energetically declare it. Say it in the comments now: I protect my energy. That's not just a sentence. That's a boundary. That's a shield. That's your yes to the life you're finally ready to receive. When the Sun card appears at the end of a reading, especially after the storm, the shadow work, the reckoning with your past and the purging of old patterns, it doesn't just signal happiness. It signals clarity. A clarity so deep it silences doubt, warms every inch of your being, and makes everything that came before feel worth it. Not just because it ends well, but because the ending finally makes sense. Leo, if you're still here, still feeling this in your chest, your bones, your breath, it means you're not looking for a fairy tale. You're ready for a true beginning. One that honors all that you've learned, all that you've lost, and all that you're about to become. The truth is, this isn't just about romance. This is about a shift in identity. In energy. In legacy. You and this person, this soul, are not simply meant to reunite for personal joy. The love between you carries a higher purpose. It's meant to restore faith. Not just yours or theirs, but in the hearts of those around you. You two are not here to be perfect. You're here to be proof that healing is real. That timing is divine. That no matter how far off course life takes us, destiny always circles back to what is true. In numerology, the number 9 symbolizes completion, wisdom, a spiritual graduation. And if you've been seeing this number late, lion clocks, receipts, random place, it's not coincidence. It's confirmation. You're exiting a karmic cycle that lasted 9 years. Whether you were aware of it or not, everything you've gone through was part of a soul cycle designed to prepare you for this next phase. A phase that begins not with force, but with openness. With quiet. With readiness. So, let's ground that in something real. Because as powerful as these energies are, they need your participation. Begin by creating space, both literal and energetic. Light a white candle at exactly 9:21 p.m., or 21:21, for 3 nights in a row. You don't need to ask for anything. Just sit with the flame and say thank you for what's coming, for what's leaving, and for who you've become in between. Next, write a letter to the person your soul knows is returning. Not to beg. Not to explain. But to speak from your truth. Say what's in your heart. Fold the letter. Keep it somewhere meaningful. It's not about being sent. It's about being expressed. And finally, make physical room for them. Clean out a drawer. Make space on your bookshelf. Remove one object you've been holding onto, just in case. These small, sacred acts are signals to the universe, I'm ready. Because you are. Maybe not perfectly. But enough. And sometimes, that's all it takes. You're not waiting anymore. You're preparing. That's a powerful difference. You're no longer hoping they'll come back. You're becoming the version of you that's ready when they do. And if all of this has stirred something inside you, if your heart is nodding, even while your mind still hesitates, then say it out loud, or type it right now. I choose destined love. I am the one chosen. Let that be your final word before everything changes. Because, Leo, it will. And when it does, you won't have to chase it. You'll simply recognize it. And this time, you'll be ready to receive it fully, not just as a lover, but as a co-creator of a new universe, built not on fear, but on sacred truth. Leo, if you've made it this far, let me tell you this moment is not an accident. You were meant to hear these words. Not because the stars are controlling your life, but because something deep within you has already started to shift. Something in you is saying, yes. I'm ready to let go. I'm ready to be seen. I'm ready to love again, not with fear, but with truth. Everything we've explored together today, the death card, the return of a sacred connection, the opening of the portal, the voices that try to shake your confidence, and the breathtaking promise of a new beginning theory, all part of a story you're still writing. And the most powerful truth of all is this: you are not here to repeat your past. You are here to rewrite the legacy of your heart. That version of you who had to be strong all the time, who buried hope under layers of logic, who made themselves small so no one could break them again. It's okay to thank them. But it's also okay to say goodbye. Because you're not just here to heal. You're here to live. You're here to co-create. And the love that's coming toward you now isn't just a persona, it's a mirror, a mission, a movement. This next chapter of your life isn't about finding the perfect other. It's about finally stepping into the energy where you recognize yourself. So let me ask you, what would change if you truly believed you were chosen for something extraordinary? What would shift if you finally dropped the need to prove your worth and simply stood in it? Let those questions sit in your heart tonight. And if even one part of you whispered yes while listening, then take one bold step right now. Drop a comment below, not just to engage, but to activate this energy. Say, I am ready to receive the love and the life meant for me. That declaration isn't for might, it's for you. For your future. For your sacred return to wholeness. If you felt something awaken in you during this message, if a light came back on, if you saw a piece of yourself more clearly, please give this video a like. Hit subscribe. Tap the bell so you never miss a transmission like this again. Tomorrow's message may hold the exact timing you've been asking the universe for. And share this with a fellow Leo, someone who's been waiting for a sign, someone who maybe forgot how much magic they hold. Because sometimes, your hand is the one that opens the door to someone else's destiny. From the deepest part of my being, thank you for being here with me on Eternal Mindfulness. Your presence, your energy, your healing journey, it matters more than you know. Until we meet again, stay open, stay rooted, and remember, you're not chasing a miracle. You are the miracle.